This podcast contains content that is graphic in nature and mature language that may be unsuitable for children or young listeners. Listener discretion is advised. Hello and welcome to episode 19, technically part 4 of the Echoes of Evil series. I'm Kelly.
And I'm Kyler.
And we are going to try to make this as cut and dry as possible because,
Right.
Well, I meant to
Don't
make...
believe her? I don't believe her.
I meant to make it only 3 parts, but then we got to the end of part 3, and it was already an hour and 20 minutes long, so we had to go ahead and wrap that one up. And then we had all of this really ridiculously cold weather that came through, so we've just been trying to weather that, and so...
Most people would think, like, stay in, hunker down, do some podcasts. No, it's more like stay in, try and be warm, cut firewood,
and
snuggle.
Keep the kids from deliberately terrorizing the entire house, including the pets. Yeah.
We can't go outside. We're going to break the wall.
Exactly. So that's what we've been trying to do. So again, I apologize. I promise after this, we're going to get back on a regular every other week schedule and get the episodes out on the day that they're supposed to be coming out. But you guys have done, been really, really... appreciative regardless, and I am glad that the audience base that we have is not cruel to us for not getting as upset with us as I get. I probably get more upset with myself than you guys get with me, because I don't like saying I'm going to do something and have something ready and done by such and such a day and then not getting it done by then. So all that to say, I appreciate you guys. You're awesome. Quick recap. Last episode we talked mainly about Debbie and her side of things and the trial. That ended with Debbie being found guilty of all 3 counts of first-degree murder. There were no holdouts. There was no 11-1 like in Lee John's. It was straight unanimous verdicts for all 3. She was guilty AF. So the part that I left y'all with, though, was the fact that her entire from the day that the events happened to the time that she got found guilty was like 2.5, 3 years, I think, total. It was exactly 2 years and a day. That's what it was. 2 years and a day from the time that the murders occurred to the time that she was found guilty. So 2 years and a day. All of her purse...
We're sure on this, because we went through a lot of different dates.
No. It was the 22nd of August... 2014 when she was found guilty, and it was the 20th of August 2012 when the murders happened. So it was exactly 2 years and 2 days. So not a day, but 2 days. 2 years, 2 days for her entire ordeal. But then post-conviction, and I said this last episode, post-conviction lasted from 2014. It started in September of 2014, and it went all the way to 2021, which is why I went ahead and cut that episode off, because to talk about all of the shit that she did post-conviction, it's a lot. It's going to take a minute. So I didn't want to throw it in and try to shove it into like 5 or 6 minutes, where it really is going to be a little bit more intensive than that. So, we'll go ahead and start with the fact that before she was even sentenced, which was the life without parole, which is mandatory for first-degree murder, they did not seek the death penalty for a couple of reasons, and I think I've talked about this on a different podcast before, that the district attorney will often not seek the death penalty because all death penalty cases automatically go to the Supreme Court for review. Automatically. They don't ever get bypassed, so they're automatically seen. But if you do it for the life without parole, there's the chance that they won't get seen, because they only see, I think, remember what did I say the last time, 10%, something like that, of all the cases that get put before them. So they automatically appealed.
I don't actually remember. I do remember you saying that, but I can't remember the actual statistic.
Yeah, I think it's something like 10%. I don't remember, honestly. But before she was ever sentenced, they did the motion for a new trial, motion to throw out judgment and all that, which was obviously denied. And then following that up, on September 26, 2014, September 26, 2014 was the day they did her sentencing, which was the 3 consecutive, not concurrent, consecutive licenses, just like Lee John. They did the motion for the new trial, which was denied. Now, about 4 days later, they submitted another motion, and that was the motion to reconsider sentence, because they said that the consecutive life without parole was unconstitutional. and that was denied about a month later in October. So then came the big appeal that they filed with the Third Circuit Court of Appeals. So that was filed on November 10th, 2014. That appeal...
Sorry.
Okay, so now I've got my notes here. I wrote these a while ago, so I'm not sure what I have. A couple of these, they were basically Supreme Court writs, which were like saying specific parts of specific things were appealed and then, later come back and were either granted or denied. I know that Debbie didn't get a new trial, but I think the appeal that she filed was the appeal to reconsider the sentencing. And that one, I believe, was granted in December, which means they have to reconsider the reconsideration of sentence. By that I mean the reconsideration of sentence, the motion for reconsideration of sentence that they did and was denied. They have to, the Supreme Court writ that they did for that one was granted, which means it went back to the court to...
Okay, so they have to reconsider the reconsideration of sentence.
Right, so instead of just saying, no, you guys, that's affirmed, it's good, it stands, they said, okay, we all need to go back and try this again and look at the stuff.
Okay.
So basically they just said, you guys need to rule on this again.
Yeah, it was a third party that said,
right.
We're not entirely sure.
We don't know if this flies.
Just look at it again.
Exactly. So they sent it back, and then that was, again, it was denied by the court in Catahoula, so that one stood. Now, more writs and stuff were eventually put in, and then they had the big appeal that was also affirmed, which oh my God, her appeal. So her appeal was basically...
affirmed means denied.
Affirmed means they are upholding the judgment that was made by the jury when the trial happened. They affirmed the sentence, they affirmed the ruling, or they affirmed the...
I find court...
Yeah, it sounds like, okay, well, if they affirmed it, that means that it was right, that they went ahead...
No, they didn't confirm it.
They affirmed.
They said the decision was correct.
Right, they made the right decision the first time. We have no reason to overturn that. So, basically what happens between 2014 and 2018... She tries to get her appeal gets denied or affirmed. Same thing, means the same thing. She appealed on ineffective assistance of counsel, that the evidence wasn't good enough, that they
took an extra day doing this, that, and the other.
The jailhouse snitch wasn't reliable. They shouldn't base their findings on the, whatever. And basically, the Third Circuit Court does what they do, and they said, the jury gets to decide what they hold as good evidence or good testimony. They get to decide who is reliable and who isn't reliable as a witness. And we, as an appellate court, we don't get to say that they were wrong, because that's what the jury is for. So all of those things are affirmed, and it goes back. And now she's fighting between 2017 and 2020, she's arguing about her post-conviction relief, which basically comes down to she didn't want to be sentenced to 3 consecutive life sentences. She believed that because she was not the acting party who pulled the trigger or who slashed the knife, which... debatable.
Even that is in question.
Yeah, debatable. So she was trying to say that because I wasn't the acting party, that I shouldn't be sentenced to life without parole. Like, I should be given a chance to get out and have a life again, which, newsflash, nobody believes that, honey. Sorry. Nobody. Everybody that I've spoken to believes you are exactly where you belong to be. So, that's what she's doing between 2017, 2018, and the crappy part about this is her attorney in the original case that was helping with all of this stuff in the post-conviction relief, because after it goes to appeal, the post-conviction relief actually falls back on the attorney that helped with the trial. So it goes to an appellate lawyer that is funded by the state, and then it falls back, especially if you're indigent, it falls back into the indigent defender's arms.
I'm no indigent.
So... after the appeal fails...
It's different.
Indignant, yes. So after the appeal fails, it comes back to the indigent defender, Robert Clark. Unfortunately, about a year into the post-conviction relief fiasco, he passes away suddenly. And then she's left in kind of a limbo. Because now we're having to find somebody that is able to catch themselves up on the case, catch themselves up on everything that's happened with the appellate, catch themselves up on all of the motions that have already been filed by Robert, and then try to go forward. She actually makes an appearance in one of her post-conviction relief contradictory hearings, September 2018, and there was no attorney present.
I feel like a lot of her hearings were contradictory, but can you explain that term?
Yeah, a contradictory hearing is basically to say, so the post-conviction relief stuff, they're trying to get that to go through. A contradictory hearing is basically to say what is or isn't applicable. So this is contradictory to what we've already decided, or this isn't, or we have new stuff to put in that might contradict what we've already had. Okay? It's another one of those terms like a status review. It's basically just a way to come in and have a talk about what's going on. But they have to call it specific things depending on what they're going in there for. So, in that one...
It seems more like depending on the timing in the trial.
Right, yeah, depending on the spot where they're at, because it could be pre-trial, it could be status, it could be, a post-trial, the contradictory hearings usually are something specific to do with the court procedure, more so. Okay. So, in this one, she didn't have an attorney with her, and Brad Burgett, of course, he's there, he's present, he loves this stuff. It's almost like he lives for it, which you can tell by the way that he interacts with these people that he enjoys himself. He likes what he does, and actually, we'll do a thing on him in a future date, because I heard a fun story about that specifically. Apparently, he... up until a certain point, and I'm going to get into that story later, but he came from, when he came over to be our district attorney for our parishes, he was undefeated. For a long time.
I know this story.
He had a batting 1,000, as it were. And then he
us.
And then he didn't. So I'll tell that story at some point in the future, because it's fun. I enjoy those kind of stories, because I just think they're interesting, because it's stuff like that I had no idea, and it's just, I find that fun. So not because he lost, but because I think it's interesting.
You'll understand when you hear the story.
Exactly, you'll understand. Okay, so anyway, in that hearing that she was having, where she did not have an attorney present because hers had passed away, they hadn't reassigned anybody yet, and this is the hearing where, when I was reading through all of these trial transcripts, because every single one of them were in there, because again, of the massive amount of filing that she did post-conviction, they had transcripts from damn near every single hearing she ever had. And so I'm reading through there, and all I see is, in the transcript, it says Mr. Burgett, and his line says, "I'm speaking, murderer." And I said, whoa, because at this point I'm scanning, I'm quick scanning to see what kind of information I'm trying to gather from this specific one, because at this point I've gone through hundreds.
Not this Atlantic one.
But I have to go back. I said, reverse. What did that say? So I've actually got the transcript. I wrote it out because I tried to, I would have printed it out and scanned it, but anyway, it didn't matter. I typed it out. And I have that, and I'll attach that either to a TikTok or somewhere to be able to show you guys. I already have it available on the Patreon, because I posted that a couple days ago just by scheduling it. But they go back and forth, because Debbie is trying to interrupt him, and she thinks at this point she's got her jailhouse lawyer degree. So she is trying to say that she was convicted on whatever such evidence, and she's interrupting Brad as he's speaking, and he's not about to have that. And he calls her a murderer at least 3 times. And finally the judge is like, all right. And she says, I'm not a murderer. He says, yes, you were. You are a convicted murderer. So please, you'd be best advised not to interrupt me, murderer. And it's just, the back and forth right then just kind of, gives you that chill that run up and down your spine. But anyway, all of this to say,
hold on. You've got to find the transcript and actually read the segment.
Oh, I can. I have
in my opinion, when you paraphrase, you just make Brad sound like a dick.
Well, I mean,
he was being a little dickish.
Kind of. But that's his job.
It was funnier in the transcript by far, in my opinion. It sounded almost more like a 2-player instead of just like a...
Right. Okay, so it says, Mr. Burgett, Your Honor, the jury... I'm certain Miss Adams is not going to agree that she killed anybody, but they found her guilty, as I stated. The court, I got you, Mr. Burgett, in a very short period of time, defended, all because of compound. Mr. Burgett, I'm speaking, murderer, I'm speaking. The court, all right, Mr. Burgett, I'm speaking. Defendant, I am not a murderer. Mr. Burgett, I advise you, do not interrupt me. Defendant, I am not a murderer. Mr. Burgett, you are a convicted murderer. Yeah. So.
And that's why I thought that it was just better to hear it.
And when I read it, I laughed out loud at the same time that I was like, oh, that's cold. Oh, that's cold. But I mean, like, true. All of it true, honestly. Like, but still, the fact that you're just like, I'm speaking murderer. Because I can see him, like, holding up his hand, making a meme out of it. Like, it's a whole thing. So, all of this to say that eventually they got her the correct representation. She had the post-conviction relief appeal filed in April of 2019. That was eventually denied. They had a Supreme Court writ of review that was filed in May of 19, was denied in June. She had another writ of review filed in September of 19, which was denied again in 6 of 20. Now, the writ of reviews that she's filing with the Supreme Court is she's asking them to look over specific parts of specific things. So the one that came back real quick the next month, she was asking specifically for a portion to be overlooked, to be re-looked at because she feels like something was done incorrectly or improperly. A lot of her arguments had to do with the fact that she was saying that her original attorney, Robert Clark, was like in cahoots with the DA because they were good friends and there were sidebar conversations that weren't on the record and that shouldn't have happened. And
as a for instance, it's pretty much the adult version of when your kid gets in trouble and then tries to have you pick out any and everything that maybe could have been slightly different. But no, it's not my fault because the grass is green and it was wet and then...
Exactly.
How does that have to do with...
It doesn't. And that's basically what they came back and told her every single time. None of this shit actually matters. And her last pleading that she filed with the Supreme Court was filed in December of 2020. Again, denied. Nothing ever came of it, as far as I could see, as far as I could tell. And... if anybody has completely and utterly wrung out every drop of possible appeal and post-conviction relief attempts that they had, she has done so. Now, that's not to say that she won't try to finagle her way into some loophole in the future, but if that happens, hey, we got you. We'll be here. We'll get you up to date on it. But as far as we are concerned, and as far as this 4-part monster is concerned, the Echoes of Evil, we are finally...
The echoes are quieting.
We are completing this by saying that Debbie Adams is located in her forever home in St. Gabriel at the Louisiana Correctional Institute for Women, and as far as we know, that's where she'll be. And so little V. John, of course, he's still at the, the David... Yeah, the correctional, the rollover. Yeah. And as far as we know...
Still where we told you he was last time.
Well, yeah. And I don't believe they have any contact. I don't believe they're allowed to have any contact. I didn't reach out to anybody, and as far as I know, both families...
And I think that after she basically threw him under all of the buses and did her best to make sure he was the only one that was guilty.
Right.
I don't even think he's gone through anybody else to try and contact her.
No, I don't think so. But I mean, like, we wouldn't really know.
The error of his ways, as it were.
Yeah, but like I said, even though he came and testified at her trial, he still didn't want to. He was still head over heels for that woman, and that was 2 years later. And he hadn't heard shit nor hide nor hair, and he understood that she was still trying to throw him completely under the bus. So, I mean, yeah, there's that. And then I wanted to say a quick thank you, if any of the family, and I'm going to try to not butcher this and go by according to what, because we had the family of Lee John, a couple of his family members actually reached out on TikTok and commented that was their uncle. And so I wanted to say I appreciate you guys reaching out and saying, hey, and I'm sorry that this story isn't the best light for that, but I do appreciate the the input, and I also appreciate the response, because I did ask about the pronunciation, because like I said, I have asked at least 20 different people and I have got 20 different answers. But the answer that I got specifically from the family, I still am having a bit of a debate about, because Kyler thinks it was Ponthieux.
No.
Okay. Ponthu is what she wrote in the response to how do you pronounce your last name, and I thought Ponthieux.
Yeah, and I think Ponthieux.
Something. Anyway, we appreciate the fact that we.
I just don't think that. I don't think
we got a response.
If somebody sends you just a U in a pronunciation format, without any of the fancy.
Yeah, but see, she honestly said though that's the best way I can do without being able to say it. So maybe she didn't know.
We need to figure out a way to get voice comments.
Right. Well, we can do that, sort of, because I mean, you can send emails, which you could attach a voice memo or something to.
That's a lot of work for people.
It is. I agree with that. But I just wanted to say I appreciate you guys at least responding back to us.
We need a quick and easy way to get a voice response.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think we could set up like a phone number, honestly, that just takes voicemails, that doesn't actually call. You can just send a voicemail in. Anyway, so I just wanted to say I appreciate that, and I appreciate everybody else listening and following along in this saga that turned out to be a lot more than I intended it to be. I knew it was going to be a monster. I didn't realize it was going to be a 4-part monster, and I appreciate.
If you just let her just go on something, she'll go.
But honestly, this was the baby. This was the baby that was the heart fire of all of that is this podcast, because
this is the catalyst for you having a podcast.
Without me coming across this case to begin with, I probably never would have even started a podcast. So I wanted to do justice and due diligence to this case, because it did inspire everything that has become the Sin Law podcast. So I wanted to make sure that we did it right, and that it was done well, and that it was to the best of my ability researched and executed to the best of my ability. And I feel like I've done that. I feel like I put in more effort and energy into this thing than anyone ever should have. But I've come across some really interesting points and tidbits that I didn't the first even time around that I researched and went through this. So the stuff about the bankruptcy filing and the loan stuff that I didn't come across until the second time around. So I mean, there's always something more to find. There's always something more interesting that you can come across, and I feel like that's one of the coolest things about talking about these stories and bringing these cases to light, which I'm hoping our next podcast that I'm going to be doing with Uncle Sawyer, that's what I'm hoping will happen with that case, is that once we get into the nitty-gritty of that, if we can find the nitty-gritty, because it's an old one, but I'm hoping that that'll help with that one as well. So, oh man, this has been a trip. It's been a journey, and just real quick on the end of this, because we've only got a couple minutes.
That's right. You can't see me. I'm doing air quotes.
Yeah, he always does the air quotes.
Real quick.
This is the end. Like I said, we're no more of this unless something crazy happens or somebody dies. There's not a whole lot that we can put on the end of this. So I'm going to go through our socials. We've got our TikTok, our YouTube, we have a Patreon, and that starts at a $5 membership, and that gets you a little care package with some cool stuff with the Sin Law stuff. And if you want to be a supporter for that, and we've got a website that I keep up to date, and that'll also have some pictures and commentary and things like that in the blog section of the website. So
currently it has a picture of her computer and an unknown man.
No, that's not true. I have 3 blogs on there, so don't start with me. Yeah, because nobody helps me. So I have to do it all on my own, and it takes time.
You want to verbalize the things and make all the words.
So podcast, the website cenlawpodcast.com, and you actually can get to the Patreon, the Twitter, the YouTube,
Twix.
And Twix. That's actually pretty funny. They should do that. But yeah, so it has links for all of that. You can get to all of the other socials from the website, and you can actually go down into the show notes, and there's a link down there for that as well. Leave us a comment, leave us a rating, a review, like it, subscribe to it, do all of the cool things, and just come back. Or, instead of doing any of that, just tell somebody that you know that is interested in true crime about our podcast, because like I said, and I've said this a couple times since I realized that the majority of our base of listeners comes from people telling other people. So y'all just keep doing that. I don't give a damn if you like or subscribe or any of that things. But if you want cool little treats,
you like my shit.
Cool little treats and tricks that we'll send you in a box if you do become a subscriber, and that'll absolutely help the show, because right now, paying for the hosting and a couple other things that we've got, it's not too bad, but it definitely would help if we had some support on that end. But that's on us, and I will continue to do it because I love doing this. So, next episode will not be out this Monday. It will be out, let me double check on the date here. January. It'll be January 29th. And that's the one that I'm going to do with Uncle Sawyer. It is a listener suggestion, and hopefully we'll have some cool little cool things in that one that we haven't had in other episodes. I'm hoping. We're going to cross our fingers. And when I say cool things, I mean like interview clips with the person actually involved with the case. So we're hoping for that, keeping our fingers crossed. We'll see how that goes. And we'll try to keep on a regular schedule from now on, so we'll go back to every other Monday, unless we have bonus episodes we sprinkle in there for you guys, just to give you updates. Sprinkle. He was doing the hand motion for the sprinkle.
That was the plan.
Possibly.
I went past the house.
But otherwise, you guys just keep listening, keep joining in, keep contacting us if you feel like you need to or you want to. You've got plenty of avenues. All of and the email is still a good one too. That's where a lot of our listener suggestions for the next couple episodes, because I plan on doing all of the episodes that I have been suggested since we started, and since we've got them, since I started saying, hey, throw them into the email. We've got at least 3. So I'm going to try to do those here before I go back to my already kind of planned list of episodes that I had written down. So we're going to try to do those listener suggestions so I can get those out to show you guys how much, I do care, and I do appreciate the suggestions, and we are going to do them. So
words don't do the work. We very much appreciate listener suggestions. If for no other reason than it tells us what y'all are interested in,
right,
and what avenues to look in.
Right. And then
the ones that have been suggested have been really good ones too.
Really interesting, very intricate, and
keep us on our toes.
Right.
So thank you.
And they're older. The 2 that we're about to do coming up the end of January, and then the next one in February. Those 2 are from the 80s, and one of them was solved, but the other one is still unsolved. And so, these are cases that matter to people still to this day. So it's really, we appreciate that, especially in the case of the unsolved one that we're going to try to get to here at the end of January. That means a lot to us that you would, give that to us, knowing that still means that much to the people who are still trying to get this thing solved. So we appreciate that.
Y'all tell some more people to listen, because the more people that hear about that case,
that's right,
the more likely it is to get any kind of information about it.
That's right, because then, you'll hear it a lot on all the true crime podcasts. Somebody out there knows something. And that's all it takes, is that one little bit of information from that one person who remembers that one thing, and sometimes that can be enough.
And is finally willing to say something.
That's right.
Just needs a little bit of coercion.
Sorry. Meaning.
Oh, I thought.
So I'm gonna go.
I thought that you were finishing the sentence. It just needs a little bit of.
Ha! No, I apologize in advance, because I know that I'm not going to be able to edit all of the cat rustlings out of this one. Our cats have been going stir crazy because they're not used to us being in the house as much as we've been in the house because of the cold. So they're literally going bananas. So I apologize.
Silently, but you can't run from one end of the house to the other without sounding like a herd of horses.
So anyway, we appreciate you guys so much, and we look forward to continuing this year. Hopefully everybody is doing well. Everybody made it through this part of the storm, and I know that the end of January is going to be another hectic, crazy one, that it's not going to get much better before it gets worse. So good luck with that. Stay safe.
Listeners not in Louisiana, it's been 32 degrees, I think, was the high, or higher than the high for the last couple of days.
No, 28 or 29 was the high today.
Or higher than the high.
Well, it's
not the high for today. It's been 32 in the last couple of hours.
Either way, I just know that.
Regardless, my point is, it's been sub-freezing temperatures here, and and sleety, and it was barely snowy. The kids got literally like 4 hours of snow, maybe.
Yeah.
I felt so bad.
Yeah, but it's been cold, and anybody in the South right now, in that South belt, look like Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi-ish. I know that it's been freezing. It's been very cold, and we appreciate you guys listening. We appreciate you coming back every week, and I'm just going to throw it out there. If you're still around and you're still listening, Evanston, Wyoming, I don't know who you are. I would love to hear from you, because you are on the list every freaking week. You're the only person in Wyoming that listens to this podcast, and I just wanted to say that I am extremely grateful that you come back every single week, and thank you. Don't know who you are, but we appreciate you. You've been here almost since the freaking beginning, and I truly appreciate you coming back every week. So, having said that, we appreciate you guys. Thank you for listening. Who that? Who that?
Why are you following me? Why are you following me?
We will see you guys in roughly 10 days or so, however many days it is until Monday. I can't keep track anymore. I know that we've got to go back to work at school tomorrow.
Less than 7
No.
days till Monday.
The next Monday, aspect. They know what I meant. All right. Thank you guys. Come back. Stay safe. Keep listening. Keep telling everybody about us. And we'll see you again later. Y'all take care out there.
We'll see y'all next time.
Bye.
This has been an Elf Audio production.